Omahyanatimandasyam shanakam sakshun militam yena tasmai sigurve namah. Namo Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prastaya Bhutale Shrimate Bhaktivedanta Swami Namini Namaste Saraswata Deve Gauravani Pacharine Nirvishesha Sunyavadi Paskachai Dusatane Srila Prabhupada Ki.
Hare Krishna Maharaj, welcome to the Bhaktivedanta course. A pleasure to have you with us again. I'd like to just say a few words. We have a few students who have joined the module 2. Most of module 1 students that remain by you from last year, as you see many units. So I just like to introduce Maharaj. Maharaj is originally from Belgium, and he actually is a disciple of Bhakti Charu Maharaj, and he has been rendering very important services in ISKCON. He met the devotee in 1992 and entered the order of sannyas in 2015 from His Holiness Saraswami. And he is currently serving as part of the GBC Minister for Sannyas. He has served as secretary for the GBC body and for the GBC executive body for many years. And currently, correct me if I'm wrong, Maharaj, are you still the temple president in Belfast?
No. I'm in Belgium now. I'm out of the UK, and that.
Okay. Yeah. And anyway, Maharaj was for a long time in the UK, where he's been teaching Shastri courses for many years, and he is perhaps, I think, the only one of all of your teachers who holds the Bhaktivedanta degree. He studied Bhakti by Baba and Bhaktivedanta in BIHE. So it's a real honor and pleasure to have him with us, and I hope you enjoy his teaching and his association. He's a very, very regulated person and very inspiring. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Thank you.
Recording in progress.
Thank you, Prabhu, for your kind words, which I don't deserve. I just try my best to serve the mission of Prabhupada with all my faults. So today we will discuss chapter 22 from the 10th canto. Krishna steals the garments of the unmarried gopis. So we have heard the Venu Gita, the previous chapter, and now Sukadeva Goswami is going to describe what happens next. We know the gopis have heard the sound of Krishna's flute. The river stopped flowing their natural course, and they went to flow to the lotus feet of Krishna. So the gopis were feeling that their ability to stop their natural course was beyond their control. Their natural course is being that their love flows to Krishna, but not their so-called natural social course in their family relationships. The sound of Krishna's flute pulled them from that course very powerfully. And now we are coming in the month of Hemanta. In the winter, it's known for its cold. The first month of the winter in Nandavraj. So before, in the previous chapter, the Venu Gita, we have heard about the mood of the married gopis, and now we will hear of the mood of the unmarried gopis. The married gopis were feeling basically that they were imprisoned by the fact that they were married. Their love, their hearts, their entire selves were given to Krishna. Especially in this chapter, we have to remember that the gopis were part of a culture that was very, very strict. And now I will read something which, well, I will read what Bhurijan Prabhu said at the beginning of this chapter. And that's interesting. He said, I once heard Srila Prabhupada lecturing and say that in the West the young boys and young girls are always talking. But in India the young boys don't desire to talk to the young girls. And that young boys don't desire to talk to the young girls. But the culture prohibits it completely. It stops it. Because the culture is very strict and very strong. It is moral. It is ethical. The gopis were part of a culture that promoted complete modesty and complete chastity. It is a very strong part of the culture. But it is quickly disintegrating generation after generation. As Kali Yuga progresses, all morality disintegrates and immediate sensual pleasures become everything. And if you try to talk about morality to people, they will think it's quite old-fashioned. The new morals is what people want, and the new morals are basically immorality, especially on the sexual level. It are the women who hold the fabric of culture together. That has been completely eroded. So the gopis were not part of that modern, contemporary culture. They were completely modest. Unless we understand their modesty and chastity, we don't understand the type of surrender that they performed of giving themselves to Krishna. By contemporary standards, the fact that later on they are going to dance with Krishna, whether married or not, in the middle of the night, it doesn't seem like a great surrender of anything, because today people are doing these type of things continuously. It is their life. It is completely accepted to see ladies partially dressed. There is the beach, there is the movement, so much advertising. There is one level that we need to view these pastimes to understand the surrender. The current state is really unnatural. That is what is natural. Their state of shyness. They never met Krishna, they only exchanged glances. So, to understand the pastime on one level, we need to understand the social setting, but we need to learn the nature of surrender in Gopa Bhav. So these unmarried gopis, they perform the Katyayani vrat. Katyayani. Who is Katyayani? So, Bhurijan Prabhu explains, this is not a material Durga Devi, but it is the eternal energy of the Lord. They worship every morning Katyayani for a particular purpose, which we all know. They wanted to get Krishna as their husband. Naturally, one wants to marry the one who one loves. Without mercy of higher powers, they cannot have Krishna as their husband. For an entire month they performed this Katyayani vrat. They vow to worship Katyayani. So, in previous chapters we had probably Sanatan Goswami, but Sanatan Goswami does not comment so much on this chapter. So we will mostly read together the comments of Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur. Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur's comments are unique and expansive. So we will read the first verse, and I share the screen. Shri Shuka Uvacha Emante Pratame Masi Nanda Vracha Kumarika Sherura Vishyam Bunjana Katyayani Archana Vratam. So Sukadev Goswami said, during the first month of the winter season, the young unmarried girls of Gokul observed the vow of worshipping the goddess Katyayani. For the entire month they ate only unspiced khichdi. So after the Sarad season, there is Hemanta, early winter. So there are 6 seasons in a year. So, can someone read the purport which is on the screen? Whoever wants, please.
The word.
May I read?
Please go ahead.
The word Hemante refers to the month of Margashirsha, from approximately the middle of November to the middle of December, according to the Western calendar. In chapter 22 of Krishna, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Srila Prabhupada comments that the gopis first ate Havishyana, a kind of food prepared by boiling together moong dal and rice without any spices or turmeric. According to the Vedic injunction, this kind of food is recommended to purify the body before one enacts a ritualistic ceremony.
Thank you, Ramakrishna Prabhu. Someone else read the commentary of Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur, which is also on the screen now.
May I, Maharaj? Bimla Prasad Das.
Please, go ahead.
This chapter describes the worship of Katyayani, the stealing of the gopis' clothing, Krishna's conversation with the gopis, and Krishna fulfilling the wishes of the gopis, as well as a Krishna praising the trees. After describing the attraction of the married gopis, such as Radha to Krishna in the autumn season, there is a description of the unmarried Nityasiddha gopis, such as Dhanya, who were absorbed in talking of Krishna. According to local custom, they performed the Katyayani Vrat during the Hemanta season in order to obtain Krishna as their husband. The distinction between these gopis in the first month of the Hemanta, Makshish, and those like Radha is made in the Harivamsha, Vishnu Puran and Brahma Puran in such verses as the following. The young unmarried gopis gathered together while it was still dark. Yuvatir gopi kanyascha ratrau sankalya kalavet.
So, we go to text 2. How many commentaries? So expansive. 2, 3. My dear king, after they had bathed in the water of the Yamuna, just as the sun was rising, gopis made an earthen deity of the goddess Durga on the riverbank. Then they worshipped her with such aromatic substances as sandalwood pulp, along with other items both opulent and simple, including lamps, fruits, betel nuts, newly grown leaves, and fragrant garlands and incense. So they made an earthen deity of Katyayani. That one-line purport. The word Bali B in this verse indicates offerings of clothing, ornaments, food, and so on. So what they were offering, that text 4. Each of the young unmarried girls performed their worship while chanting the following mantra. O goddess Katyayani, O great potency of the Lord, O possessor of great mystic power and mighty controller of all, please make the son of Nanda Maharaj my husband. I offer my obeisances unto you. So they are worshipping Yoga Maya, who is the controller of Krishna's pastimes, Yoga Maya. Whichever side we take on this, Yoga Maya or Ma Maya, they want Krishna as their husband. Why? Because it is completely natural. Why? Because they love him. They are first praising the goddess. They all wanted to be connected with Krishna because they loved him so completely. So there is a long purport here. If someone wants to read it, but you don't need to read all the Sanskrit. Can first start here. Yeah.
Can I read, Maharaj?
Yes, please.
According to various acharyas, the goddess Durga mentioned in this verse is not the illusory energy of Krishna called Maya, but rather the internal potency of the Lord known as Yoga Maya. The distinction between the internal and external or illusory potency of the Lord is described in the Narada Pancharatra in the conversation between Shruti and Vidya. The Lord's inferior potency, known as Durga, is dedicated to his loving service. Being the Lord's potency, this inferior energy is non-different from him. There is another superior potency whose form is on the same spiritual level as that of God himself. Simply by scientifically understanding this supreme potency, one can immediately achieve the supreme soul of all souls, who is the Lord of all lords. There is no other process to achieve him. The supreme potency of the Lord is known as Gokuleshwari, the goddess of Gokula. Her nature her nature her nature is to be completely absorbed in the love of God, and through her one can easily obtain the primeval God, the Lord of all that be. The internal potency of the Lord has a covering potency known as Mahamaya, who rules the material world. In fact, she bewilders the entire universe, and thus everyone within the universe falsely identify himself with the material body. From the above, we can understand that the internal and external or superior and inferior potency of the Supreme Lord are personified as Yogamaya and Mahamaya respectively. The name Durga is sometimes used to refer to the internal or superior potency as stated in the Pancharatra. In all mantras used to worship Krishna, the presiding deity is known as Durga. Thus, in the transcendental sound vibration, glorifying and worshipping the absolute truth Krishna, the presiding deity of the particular mantra or hymns is called Durga. The name Durga, therefore, refers also to that personality who functions as the internal potency of the Lord and who is thus on the platform of Shuddha Sattva, pure transcendental existence. This internal potency is understood to be Krishna's sister known as Ekanamsha or Subhadra. This is the Durga who is worshipped by the gopis in Vrindavana. Several acharyas have pointed out that ordinary people are sometimes bewildered and think that the names Mahamaya and Durga refers exclusively to the external potency of the Lord. Even if we accept hypothetically that the gopis were worshipping the external Maya, there is no fault on their part, since in their pastimes of loving Krishna, they were acting as ordinary members of society. Srila Prabhupada comments in this regard. The Vaishnavas generally do not worship any demigods. Srila Narottam Das Thakura has strictly forbidden worship of any worship of all worship of the demigods for anyone who wants to advance in pure devotional service. Yet the gopis who are beyond compare in their affection for Krishna were seen to worship Durga. The worshippers of demigods also sometimes mention that the gopis also worshipped goddess Durga, but we must understand the purpose of the gopis. Generally, people worship goddess Durga for some material benediction. Here, gopis could adopt any means to satisfy or serve Krishna. That was the super excellent characteristic of the gopis. They worshipped goddess Durga completely for 1 month in order to have Krishna as their husband. Every day they prayed for Krishna, the son of Nanda Maharaja, to become their husband. The conclusion is that a sincere devotee of Krishna will never imagine any material quality to exist in the transcendental gopis, who are most exalted devotees of the Lord. The only motivation in all their activities was simply to love and satisfy Krishna. If we foolishly consider their activities to be mundane in any way, it will be impossible for us to understand Krishna consciousness.
Thank you. It's very interesting. This sometimes Vrajavasis, they may worship the demigods, but their purpose is to serve Krishna. And by that, Yoga Maya, Maya, is both Durga. So we can, how long it's, we can also read the purport of Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur. It's very enlivening. If someone else can read this purport, Vishwanath?
Hare Krishna Maharaj, shall I try?
Yes, sure.
Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur. O Katyayani, make the son of the Gopananda our husband. But why are you making this request to me independently? I can only do this by inspiring your parents to do it. Through them, I can do this. Fearing this response, they say in anxiety, O great Yogini, you yourself must unite us with Krishna without the obstacles caused by parents' interference. Being so eager, we cannot bear any delay. Because Krishna has not yet got his Upanayana thread, he is not yet suitable for marriage. Therefore, without the normal wedding, but in the Gandharva style, let us marry him. Oh, Adishwari, you who have all powers, nothing is impossible for you. If you want to marry Krishna without your parents knowing, how are you going to carry out married life together with him? Oh, Mahamaya, supreme bewilderer, You should bewilder our parents, so that they do not think of marrying us with anyone else, and so that they do not know of our association with Krishna. Oh, Devi, one who carries out pastimes. Sorry.
Oh, Devi.
So that they do not know of our association with Krishna. O Devi, one who carries out pastimes or helps engage us in the Lord's pastimes, make the son of Nanda our husband and no one else. Thus, even if we marry someone else, there is no harm. In this way, thinking of the meaning of each mantra, the gopis worshipped Katyayani. Ananda Vrindavana Champu says, "O worshipable Devi, please accept this foot wash. Make our breasts cool with the water from Krishna's feet. Please give us Krishna's association. We offer you this argya. Give us association with Krishna, who is Mahargha, most worshipable." The object of their worship was Yogamaya, coming from the Chit Shakti. She was not the material Maya. In the Narada Pancharaja, in the discussion of Shruti Vidya, it is said, this Durga is the supreme principal energy of Mahavishnu, and none different from him. By her assistance, in 1 second one can attain Bhagavan. This chief energy of the Lord is the ruler of Gokul, and is endowed with the highest prem. By her mercy, one can easily attain the Lord. Her Avarika Shakti is Mahamaya, the mistress of infinite material universes. This Mahamaya bewilders all the souls of the universe who think they are material bodies. Thus, in all the mantras for Krishna, the spiritual Durga is the presiding deity. She is worshipped in meditation when reciting the mantras. To confuse the Yogamaya Durga with the Mahamaya Durga is a mistake. And also, because the pastimes of Raja are very similar to material pastimes in appearance, there is no fault in the worship of Maya Devi. Independent thinkers who think otherwise have no chance of getting even a touch of the breeze of holding the scent of prema on their body. This is from Vaishnava Toshani.
So
Hare Krishna.
thank you. So difference between Yoga Maya Durga and Maya Durga. A big difference that, of course, it depends also on the intention of the worshipper, whether you approach Yoga Maya or Maya. This is the approach Yoga Maya, because they are worshipping the goddess to get Krishna as their husband. That's so practically speaking, it was their only desire to have Krishna as their husband. So prema has nothing to do with this material world. So extensive commentaries from our acharyas, so many. But we stick to Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur mainly. So we see that prema has nothing to do with this material world. Therefore, the material energy cannot avoid one cannot award one with prema bhakti. That's not possible. The material energy cannot do that. Therefore, it was Yoga Maya. Text 5. Thus, for an entire month, the girls carried out their vow and properly worshipped the goddess Bhadrakali, fully absorbing their minds in Krishna and meditating upon the following thought: may the son of King Nanda become my husband. So they were just simple, most simple and pure lovers of Krishna. Text 6. Each day they arose at dawn. Calling out to one another by name, they all held hands and loudly sang the glories of Krishna while going to the Kalindi to take their bath. So we have a short comment of Vishwanath. This verse is a continuation of the thought of verse 2, describing how the gopis went to bath in the waters of the Yamuna. They called each other by names, Vaigotrai, O Danya, where are you? Why are you late? So, text 7. One day they came to the river bank and, putting aside their clothing as they had done before, happily played in the water while singing the glories of Krishna. So someone can read the puppet, which is on the screen.
Can I read, Maharaj?
Yes, please read.
According to Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakura, this incident occurred on the day the gopis completed their vow, which was a full moon day. To celebrate the successful completion of their vow, the girls invited young Radharani, the daughter of Rishabhanu and the special object of their affection, along with other important gopis, and brought them all to the river to bathe. Their playing in the water was meant to serve as the Avabhrita Snana, the ceremonial bath taken immediately upon the completion of a Vedic sacrifice. Srila Prabhupada comments as follows. It is an old system among Indian girls and women that when they take bath in the river, they place their garments on the bank and dip in the water completely naked. The portion of the river where the girls and women take bath was strictly prohibited to any male, and this is still the system. The Supreme Personality of Godhead, knowing the minds of the unmarried young gopis, awarded them their desired objective. They had prayed for Krishna to become their husband, and Krishna wanted to fulfill their desires. Thank you, Maharaj.
Thank you. Yeah. Vishwanath Chakravarti comments, Kadachit sometime here means on the full moon day when the vrata was completed after 1 month. So they did it for 1 month, and that's the full moon after. This was mentioned in the 5th verse. These unmarried gopis also invited Radha and others who were objects of Krishna's love and could help fulfill their wishes. After completing the worship, the unmarried gopis sported with them in the water, as bathing is part of the Jagya rites. So it seems that they invited also Radharani and some married gopis. So that is 7. All the gopis, that Bhujan Prabhu says all the gopis came on this day, also the married and unmarried. The reason was that they were celebrating the completing of the Vrat, special day, the completion of the Vrat, and even the married gopis were invited. That was his comment. Text 8. So now Krishna is going to start his transcendental naughtiness. That Lord Krishna, the Supreme Personality of Godhead and Master of all masters of mystic yoga, was aware of what the gopis were doing, and thus he went there surrounded by his young companions to award the gopis the perfection of their endeavor. So it is reminded us here that Krishna is the Supreme Personality of Godhead. It's not an ordinary living being under the sway of lust. that what is attracting the Supreme Personality of Godhead to go to the bank of the Yamuna, and doing what he is doing here. So Yoga Maya and Maya we discussed. Two aspects of Durga. They are under the control of the Lord. Energies of the Lord cannot control the Lord. The sun rays cannot suddenly control the sun. So we see that, yes, Lord Krishna is arriving there with his young companions, the verse says. Young companions. These young companions are toddlers who cannot distinguish between male and female. So Krishna is doing this to reciprocate with the gopis, to reciprocate with the gopis on the deepest spiritual level, and also to teach something to us, and this will be revealed. So we have purport here. Can someone read the purport of text 8, please?
Maharaj, can I?
Yes, please.
As the master of all, master of mystic power, Lord Krishna would easily understand the desire of the gopis, and he would also fulfill them. The gopis, like all young girls from respectable families, consider the embarrassment of appearing naked before a young boy to be worse than giving up their lives. Yet Lord Krishna made them come out of water and bow down to him. Although the bodily forms of the gopis were all fully developed, and although Krishna met them in a secluded place and brought them fully under his control, because the Lord is completely transcendental, there was not a trace of material desire in his mind. Lord Krishna is the ocean of transcendental bliss, and he wanted to share his bliss with the gopis on the spiritual platform, completely free of ordinary lust. Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur explains that the companions of Krishna mentioned here were all toddlers, 2 or 3 years old. They were completely naked and were unaware of the difference between male and female. When Krishna went out to herd the cows, they followed him because they were so attached to him that they would not bear to be without his association.
Thank you. So we will miss the whole point of this pastime if we do not understand that Krishna is not motivated by lust. We need to understand Krishna's motive is to increase the transcendental bliss of his devotees. Also the toddlers were attached to Krishna. Of course, all living entities are attracted to Krishna. So we will also read the purport of Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur. If someone else can read, please.
As far as may I read,
Please.
Krishna is the master of all masters of yoga. That means he is omniscient. That means he can fulfill each of the desires of each gopi. He was capable of stealing the clothing of all the gopis who had left their clothing within his sight. He was capable of bringing those gopis who had decided to give up their lives out of embarrassment out of the water and make each of them pay him respects. Though he had brought them under control, even though they were determined to keep their bodies secret, he could still refrain from enjoying with them. This is the import of the word Yogeshwareshwara. Krishna was surrounded by friends who were younger boys. This is understood from other sources. These boys were about 2 or 3 years old, who could not distinguish between men and women, and who went about naked. They could not separate themselves from Krishna even while he went out herding the cows. Kramadipika says he was surrounded by babies who spoke in around their necks, who were bound with jingling bells around their waist and had fat thighs. Vaishnava Toshani, quoting from Gautamiya Tantra, lists the name of the boys Dama, Sudama, Vasudama, and Kinkini. They were very personification of Krishna's heart.
Personification of Krishna's heart. Interesting. So the gopis wanted to serve Krishna with prema, to serve him with the highest desire to please Krishna. Text 9. Taking the girl's garments, he quickly climbed on the top of the Kadamba tree. Then, as he laughed loudly and his companions also laughed, he addressed the girls jokingly. So all these toddlers were also laughing when Krishna was laughing. So Lord Krishna will perform here extreme naughtiness, and we will hear an interesting conversation by Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur. Can someone read, please?
May I read, Maharaj?
Yes, please.
Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur, 10:22:9. The small boys laughed without reason. Krishna laughed loudly, prahasan, calling their attention to himself. He joked with the young girls. O young girls of Raja, do you know who has put all of these clothes on the branches of the Kadamba tree? I was herding the cows, and from far off I saw them and thought, today the Kadamba tree is very colorful with flowers and fruit. To see this astonishing spectacle, I came running here and climbed this tree. The young girl said, those are our clothes. Krishna said, that cannot be. If they were yours, how did they get up in this high branch of the tree? They answered, you have stolen them and put them there. Are you blaming me? I am the son of King Nanda. Am I a thief? I can guess that today you want to go to Kamsa in Mathura. The young girl said, don't get angry. Just look closely at the clothing and see if there are any women's or men's, and see if they are women's or men's clothing. Krishna said, according to my intelligence, because these are so colorful, they must be women's clothing. But so what? In this universe, you are not the only woman. Are there no other women? They said, that is so, but who else except us can come to this isolated forest?
Yeah.
Krishna said, oh girls who like to wander in lonely places, are you the only woman that wander in lonely places and play secretly? They said, oh fool, we did not come here to play. We came to worship Durga, the deity of this Kadamba tree. Krishna said, are you the only young woman worshipping Durga? Are there no others? The young girl said, there are no others. Krishna said, O foolish ones, every night the Deva women who come on celestial vehicles, every night the Deva women come on celestial vehicles and perform worship of Durga here. They said, even if they did perform worship here, why would they leave their clothes and go away? Krishna said, O young girls, you do not know anything. Tonight they will come again and perform worship. After bathing, they will don these clothes. That's why they set them aside here. The girl said, Do you know you do not know the truth? Today we will perform worship. The deity of the forest has placed those clothes high up in the tree for us to wear after bathing.
That's amazing how Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur sees the pastime and brings up this whole conversation. Very special. Then Lord Krishna said, My dear girls, you may each come here as you wish and take back your garments. I'm telling you the truth, and I'm not joking with you, since I see you're fatigued from executing austere vows. So the conversation continues with Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur. Can someone read, please?
Can I read?
Please, go on.
This verse illustrates how he joked with the girls. His joking was mentioned in the previous verse. If these clothes are really yours, then come here if you like and recognize your own clothes. Take them after paying me one small necklace each in order to satisfy me after you have insulted me. You must come each individually, not all at once or two or three together. Because out of greed for the cloth, one woman will take more than one cloth. The young girl said, We cannot go. Krishna laughingly said, Oh girls, weak ones, Abala, because of your intense austerities, you have become weak and cannot come here. Another implication of the word Abala is, if you do not do this, I will not give the clothing because I am strong, Bala. What can you weak woman do? The young girl said, We do not trust your cheating words. Krishna said, I am speaking the truth to you. Satyam can also mean true, I am making a vow to you. Satyam can mean truth or vow according to the Amarkos dictionary. I am not joking. Narmano. Because of your vows, you have undergone difficulties. Vrat karsita. I show mercy and devotion to you and respect for dharma because of your austerities.
Hare Krishna. Thank you. I've never before spoken a lie. And this boy knows it. Krishna points to this toddler. Therefore, O slender-waisted girls, please come forward, either one by one or all together, and pick out your clothes. So here the conversation continues by Vishwanath Chakravarti. Can someone read, please?
So, it would be okay for the MEP, but it's very sensitive. As soon as
Can I read, Maharaj?
Yes, please.
The gopis said, Because you are a liar, we don't believe your promise. Krishna then answered, biting his tongue, I have never told any lies. From birth till now, I have not had any occasion to lie. What is the proof? These young boys are the witnesses. They are reliable as witnesses because they naturally report whatever they see. The gopis said, From far off, please throw the clothes to us in the water, or have the young boys bring them here. Krishna said, How am I to know which is your clothing and which is someone else's? How can I give them to you if I don't know? As I'm very religious, I don't touch others' things, even with my fingernail. You must come here and recognizing your own clothes, take them. I did not take, give, or touch others' things. That's my rule. The gopis said, Because you are so impudent, you can disgrace us. Out of this fear, being respectable women, we will not go near you. Krishna said, one of the young girls among you can come forward. If she is not disgraced and returns to you, then others can come one by one, or all can come together. Because if you are all together, it would be impossible to disgrace you. The head is called the topmost part of the body. It is very beautiful. Please show me your heads. If you can show your heads, then you should not be embarrassed to show me your other beautiful limbs, including your beautiful waist.
Thank you. So, the reason why we are reading these comments of Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur is that he puts these conversations between the verses, which clarifies it and which are very ecstatic to read. So, text 12. Seeing how Krishna was joking with them, the gopis became immersed in love for him. And as they glanced at each other, they began to laugh and joke among themselves, even in their embarrassment. But still, they did not come out of the water. So we will read the purport. Someone can read, please.
May I read, Maharaj?
Yes, please. Go ahead.
Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur explains this verse as follows. The gopis were from most respectable families, and they might have argued with Krishna, "Why don't you simply leave our clothes on the bank of the river and go away?" Krishna might have replied, "But there are so many of you that some of the girls might take clothes belonging to another." The gopis would reply, "We are honest and never steal anything. We never touch another's property." Then Krishna would say, "If that's true, then simply come and get your clothes. What is the difficulty?" When the gopis saw Krishna's determination, they were filled with loving ecstasy. Although embarrassed, they were overjoyed to receive such attention from Krishna. He was joking with them as if they were his wives or girlfriends, and the gopis' only desire was to achieve such a relationship with him. At the same time, they were embarrassed to be seen naked by him, but still they could not help laughing at his joking words, and even began to joke among themselves, one gopi urging another, "Go ahead, you go first, and let us see if Krishna plays any tricks on you. Then we will go later."
Hare Krishna. Thank you. 13. As Sri Govinda spoke to the gopis in this way, his joking words completely captivated their minds. Submerged up to their necks in the cold water, they began to shiver. Thus they addressed him as follows. So we have here purport from Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur. Who wants to read, please?
May I read, Maharaj?
Please, go ahead.
Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakura gives the following example of joking between Krishna and the gopis. Krishna, O bird-like girls, if you do not come here, then with these garments caught in the branches, I will make a swing and hammock. I need to lie down since I have spent the entire night awake and am now becoming sleepy. Gopis, our dear cowherd boy, your cows, greedy for grass, have gone into a cave, so you must quickly go there to herd them back on the proper path. Krishna, come now, my dear cowherd girls, you must quickly go from here to Braja and perform your household duties. Don't become a disturbance to your parents and other elders. Gopis, our dear Krishna, we will not go home for an entire month. For it is by the order of our parents and other elders that we are executing this vow of fasting, the Katyayini Vrata. Krishna, my dear austere ladies, I too, by the strength of seeing you, have now developed a surprising mood of detachment from family life. I wish to stay here for a month and execute the vow of dwelling in the clouds. And if you show mercy to me, I can come down from here and observe the vow of fasting in your company. The gopis were completely captivated by Krishna's joking words, but out of shyness, they submerged themselves in the water up to their necks. Shaking from the cold, they addressed Krishna as follows.
Okay. At 14. The gopis said, Dear Krishna, don't be unfair. We know that you are the respectful son of Nanda and that you are honored by everyone in Vraj. You are also very dear to us. Please give us back our clothes. We are shivering in the water. So, someone can read Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur's commentary, please.
Hare Krishna Maharaj.
Hare Krishna, please go ahead.
The gopis first to try to satisfy Krishna by Sama. You should not do unworthy activities. Anarya. Krishna said, you do not respect me. You do not fear calling me bad names. The gopis said, we do not know any other places of Vraja, and we know you, the son of King Nanda. Gopa means king as well as cowherd. Furthermore, you are praised by all the inhabitants of Vraja, and you are loved by all. Krishna said, O foolish woman, if I am a king's son, what wrong can I do? If you say the king's son should not do any wrong actions, then I say, if I am doing wrong, how can I be praised by all of Vraja and be so loved? It is not possible to praise or love a wrongdoer. In reply to this, the gopis said, True, we women are ignorant of how to speak. Please forgive us and give us our clothing. We are shivering with cold. With these words, they invoke his mercy.
Hare Krishna. O Shama Sundar, we are your maidservants and must do whatever you say, but give back our clothing. You know that the religious principles are. You know what the religious principles are. If you don't give us our clothes, we will have to tell the king, please. So can someone read Vishwanath's commentary?
In this verse, also the gopis try to pacify Krishna, Samma, O beautiful one, we will be your servants. Shima with dental. Do you want me to read all of that?
No, just.
Okay.
Shyam Sundar.
O Shima Sundar, being your servants, we will follow our instructions. As you are the king, it is proper that we be your servants. Under the guise of being servants, we will offer to you our very selves. Then they use rough language to weaken him. Veda, O knower of Dharma, you will be irreligious by stealing the wealth from women and seeing them naked. Seeing that it was futile to instill fear of a Dharma in him, they still resorted to threats to instill fear. If you do not give the clothing, we will complain to the king. Nanda will cancel.
So, Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur said, they are using Sama and Veda, trying first to pacifying, and then the Veda is to instill fear in him. That's diplomacy, the way of diplomacy they apply. Text 16. The Supreme Personality of Godhead said, if you girls are actually my maidservants, And if you will really do what I say, then come here with your innocent smiles and let each girl pick up her clothes. If you don't do what I say, I won't give them back to you. And even if the king becomes angry, what can he do? That's we will read Vishwanath again. Someone can read Vishwanath, text 16.
The gopis, can I
Yes, please.
read Morris?
Please.
The gopis, the gopis being defeated by their own words, then stood speechless. Krishna then spoke. The truthfulness of your words will be tested by this. If you are truly my servants, then you will do whatever I say. Then please come forward with a smile and take your clothes. If you are not true to your words, then I will not give them. If you fail this test of dharma, then I will not give you your clothing. Shuchi Smita means a smile expressing conjugal love. This reveals the gopis' true mood to Krishna. As I am stronger, you should use Shama instead of Veda, creating fear in the opponent. If you make the king angry, what can you accomplish?
Hare Krishna. Krishna is instructing them.
Hare Krishna.
Then shivering from the painful cold, all the young girls rose up out of the water, covering their pubic area with their hands. So I will read the purport. The gopis had assured Krishna that they were his eternal servants and would do whatever he said, and thus they were now defeated by their own words. If they delayed any longer, they thought some other man might come along, and this would be unbearable for them. The gopis loved Krishna so much that even in that awkward situation, their attachment to him was increasing more and more, and they were very, very eager to stay in his company. Thus they did not even consider drowning themselves in the river because of the embarrassing situation. So they concluded that they could do nothing but go forward to their beloved Krishna, putting aside their embarrassment. Thus the gopis assured each other that there was no alternative and rose up out of the water to meet him. So we will, if someone can read Vishwanath Chakravarti, Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur's comment, please.
Hare Krishna Maharaj, may I?
Please.
Oh friends, being defeated by our own words, if we delay any longer, someone may come here and then we will be put into an ocean of disgrace. Our desire to attain the touch of his body has also become even stronger and cannot be put to death even by drowning in the water. Therefore, it seems fate has been written on our foreheads, and we cannot do otherwise. Yielding to his demands and sending our own obstinacy to Rasatala, bidding farewell to embarrassment, closing our eyes in the darkness, we cover our bodies and rise from the water. Deciding on this among themselves, they then approach Krishna, rising from the water.
So thank you. So we will now have a break until 5:15, and then we will read from text 18 till 22, followed by this discussion, questions. So we will now have a break till 5:15. Hare Krishna.
Recording stopped.
यही तो है पीछे सन मुझे दिखाओ सन इधर आओ तुम अगर जब करना है हाँ तो मैं क्या करना तो मैं तो अब देखो चल नहीं कर पाऊंगा कल भी क्या पढ़े प्रभु पलावत को चिकन खड़े रहा त्याग करना है चिकन नहीं खाना है चिकन खाना है मैं नहीं बोल रहा हूँ आप त्याग करने के लिए मैं क्या करना सुना तो पहले कुछ करेंगे क्या जाते हैं
Hare Krishna. Yeah. We'll resume now our session. And
Hare Krishna Maharaj.
Hare Krishna. We will continue with text 18. When the Supreme Lord
Recording in progress.
When the Supreme Lord saw how the gopis were struck with embarrassment, he was satisfied by their pure loving affection. Putting their clothes on his shoulder, the Lord smiled and spoke to them with affection. So, I will read the purport of Srila Prabhupada that the Srila Prabhupada comments, that's probably from Krishna book. The gopis' simple presentation was so pure that the Lord immediately became pleased with them. All the unmarried gopis who prayed to Katyayani to have Krishna as their husband were thus satisfied. A woman cannot be naked before any male except her husband. The unmarried gopis desired Krishna as their husband, and he fulfilled their desire in this way. For aristocratic girls like the gopis, standing naked before a young boy was worse than death, and yet they decided to give up everything for the pleasure of Lord Krishna. He wanted to see the power of their love for him, and he was completely satisfied by their unalloyed devotion. So, someone can read Vishwanath's a commentary, please.
Maharaj. May I read, Maharaj?
Please go ahead. Thank you.
Seeing the devastated state of the gopis, a completely hatha killed, understanding that they had followed his request, giving up all shyness, which was worse than death for those respectable girls, understanding that this arose from the pure unmotivated prema, Shuddha Bhava, he became pleased, Prasidata. He put all their clothing on his shoulder out of greed to smell the fragrance of their limbs. By doing this also, he showed his love for them. With great boldness, he then gave them advice, Provacha. He thought, they have done something which is difficult for any woman out of love for me. But there is something even more difficult to do. Will they do that or not? I want to see the amount of love they have for me. Therefore, he spoke with a smile, Sasmitam. O gopis, you have accepted with your mouths that you are my servants and that you will follow my words. Now, I am going to test your words. If you can come out, I will give you your clothing. along with my soul, mind, life, air, and body.
Hare Krishna. Text 19. Lord Krishna said, "You girls bathed naked while executing your vow, and that is certainly an offense against the demigods. To counteract your sin, you should offer obeisance while placing your joined palms above your heads. Then you should take back your lower garments." So, purport. Krishna wanted to see the full surrender of the gopis, and thus he ordered them to offer obeisance with their palms joined above their heads. In other words, the gopis could no longer cover their bodies. We should not foolishly think that Lord Krishna is an ordinary lusty boy enjoying the naked beauty of the gopis. Krishna is the supreme absolute truth, and he was acting to fulfill the loving desire of the young cowherd girls of Vrindavan. This way we would certainly become lusty in a situation like this, but compare ourselves to God is a great offense, and because of this offense we will not be able to understand Krishna's transcendental position, for we will wrongly take him to be materially conditioned like ourselves. To lose transcendental sight of Krishna is certainly a disaster for one trying to relish the bliss of the absolute truth. And here Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur continues the conversation between the gopis and Krishna between the lines of the verses. Who wants to read it? 19.
Can I continue, Maharaj?
Yes, please.
Oh, you have made a great offense. If you have bathed without clothing in the water, then definitely you have offended Varuna or Narayana Deva. The gopis said, "This is a local custom, and therefore, as very young girls, we have made no offense." Krishna said, "For those performing vrata, bathing naked is certainly an offense to the Lord. Considering thus that the fruits of their vrata had become nullified, they became afraid and said, 'Oh, we have made such an offense, and now we will get any results. We will not get any results. Mortified and more mortified, we should give up our lives." Seeing the gopis who had performed such austerities with worn bodies, pale and shivering, Krishna thought, "Oh, I should, being merciful, immediately prescribe some prayaschitta so that they do not give up their lives." Therefore, he said, "O thin-bodied gopis, do not fear." He gave the remedy. All women are servants of Narayana. This is a statement of scripture. Gargamuni has also said that I am similar to Narayana in qualities. Therefore, I am now your Narayana. Therefore, turning towards me, you should offer respects to me to nullify your offenses to Narayana and then receive your lower garments. Because males don't have any use for the lower garments of women, I will give them all back. The upper garments, however, I will use myself as shorts. When the lower when the lowered when the lowered their heads when they lowered their head as an obeisance, Krishna said, "Oh no, offering respects with just the head is inferior." When he saw them then using one hand, he objected again. This is also inferior. Thus he made them offer both hands in prayer. When he saw them offering both hands but low down to cover themselves, he said, hold your folded hands above your heads."
Text 20. Thus the young girls of Vrindavan, considering what Lord Achyuta had told them, accepted that they had suffered a fall down from their vow by bathing naked in the river. But they still desired to successfully complete their vow, and since Lord Krishna is himself the ultimate rest of all pious activities, the ultimate result of all pious activities, they offered their obeisances to him to cleanse away all their sins. Now I will read the purport starting with the third paragraph. 500 years ago, Krishna appeared as Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, who practiced strict celibacy throughout his student life and at the age of 24 took sannyas, a lifelong vow of celibacy. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu rigidly avoided contact with women in order to carry out his vow of loving service to Krishna. When Krishna personally appeared 5,000 years ago, he exhibited his wonderful pastime, which attracted our attention. We should not become envious or shocked when we hear that God can perform such pastimes. Our shock is due to our ignorance, because if we tried to perform these activities, our bodies would be afflicted by lust. Lord Krishna, however, is a supreme absolute truth and therefore never disturbed by any material desire whatsoever. Thus this incident, in which the gopis gave up normal standards of morality, raising their hands to their head, bowed down in compliance with Krishna's order, is an example of pure devotional surrender and not a discrepancy in religious principles. That not text 21. Seeing them bow down like that, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, the son of Devaki, gave them back their garments, feeling compassionate towards them and satisfied by their acts. So Srila Vishwanath comments, Krishna then gave all their garments, including the top portions, because he was pleased they had done as he wished. That text 21, the last one for today. Although the gopis had been thoroughly cheated, deprived of their modesty, ridiculed, and made to act just like toy dolls, and although their clothing had been stolen, they did not feel at all inimical towards Sri Krishna. Rather, they were simply joyful to have this opportunity to associate with their beloved. Srila Prabhupada's commentary. This attitude of the gopis is described by Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu when he prays, my dear Lord Krishna, you may embrace me or trample me under your feet, or you may make me broken-hearted by never being present before me. Whatever you like, you can do, because you have complete freedom to act. But in spite of all your dealings, you are my Lord eternally, and I have no other worshipable object. This is the attitude of the gopis toward Krishna. And someone read the commentary of Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur to end.
Though they criticized him, they had done as he said, which was impossible for any others. More astonishing, however, is that they became blissful. They had been deceived to the extreme by his words criticizing their nakedness. They had been made to give up their modesty. He mocked them, insisting that they come and get their clothing. They were made to dance like puppets. Then he said, this is true. It is not a joke. They did not find fault in him, even when he told them to put their hands above their heads as prayaschitta. Though all this was done by their beloved Priya, they became blissful because they could meet him, because he was their beloved even. Actions causing suffering became causes of joy for them. They became more attached to him for doing that.
That's interesting, that their suffering became joy. That's transforming suffering into joy. That's what the gopis here have achieved. So this is the first part of this chapter. Well, I wanted to read up to the point that they got back their clothes. Otherwise, it breaks the pastime. So, are there any? I would like to ask what did you find most outstanding in this pastime? What astonished you? So, any comments?
Can I, Maharaj?
Yes, Mother Rasamai.
It's so wonderful that how Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakura is expanding these conversations so that we could appreciate them better and we could actually be there and actually witness these
Right.
conversations which is happening. So that was what I just wanted to share, Maharaj.
Yeah, Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur is midway between Lord Chaitanya and his associates and our modern time. He's called the mid-age Acharya, and some think even that he's a reincarnation of Rupa Goswami, because he went so deep in the teachings of Rupa Goswami. But it's amazing that these pure devotees, they enter the uppercut lila of the Lord and they can describe more detailed what is happening. It's an amazing insights. Yes, that's a great gift we received from Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur. So, any other comments, please? Because this.
Maharaj,
Yes, please.
may I ask a question?
Yes, sure.
If I remember correctly, right in the first verse and the commentary to that, which we were reading, it stated that, I'm paraphrasing, that Radharani was invited by these other gopis during the completion of that vow. So then, as I understand, then everybody, that means that includes Radharani, everybody went in for the bath.
Yeah.
Am I right, Maharaj?
Yes.
Okay. Okay.
Yes.
Okay. That's.
Yeah, that's also my understanding. It was a special day, the full moon day and the completion of their vrat, and all the gopis came. Yes. Yeah.
Because Maharaj, I was just thinking that the general trait as we see in the gopis. So if Krishna kind of plays some tricks on the gopis, generally the gopis get back at him. He doesn't go unpunished in that sense, quote and unquote. I was just wondering, like, how did Krishna made that trick on the gopis, and then nothing happened to him? It's like generally other pastimes. There's so many pastimes when Krishna kind of try to waylay the gopis will in turn waylay Krishna, things like that. So this, I was just thinking, okay, Radharani was also roped in this particular pastime, as we understand, because my previous understanding was that the gopis who underwent the Katyayani Vrat, Radharani was not included in that vrata. So, but now the purpose says that Radharani was invited there. So I was just trying to. Thank you, Mark. That was it.
Yes, that's interesting. She did perform that, but she was invited. It were the unmarried gopis who performed the vrat because they wanted Krishna as their husband. That's very interesting. So something else that you found astonishing? Yes, Ravi Gopal Prabhu.
Maharaj, actually, I found it very interesting because even if a devotee actually tries to do something wrong, Krishna will come forward and will try to help in some way and also avoid their offenses. This is quite interesting because that will increase the confidence of doing devotional service for all the devotees. That what my realization, Maharaj. Because Gopis did something, but still he wanted to make it perfect by just correcting them, doing some prayaschitta. So that's really very encouraging for all the people to do devotional service in a better way.
Yeah, it happened really on the day of the completion of their vow, and Krishna immediately fulfilled their desire. So that is gives that gives us faith. Yeah,
Yes.
that Krishna will reciprocate because the
Yes, Maharaj.
and for sure.
Thank you, Maharaj.
Yeah. Also, what I was thinking about is that because why people are criticizing us because they think Krishna is immoral, and then you have the pastime of dancing with other wives, the rasa dance, and then you have this pastime that so that these are the most misunderstood pastimes by materialistic people. That so the question is, yes, how can we defend Krishna? That and these defenses, these arguments are in this pastime, because I had one Bhaktivedanta student make a presentation on this. And if you have a few moments, I will try to find it on my computer. There our presentation, and she makes very interesting points on this pastime. Seminars material. Her seminar is called Krishna is Immoral. That yes, let's see. Trying to find it. Yeah. And I will share it with you. That let's see. So this is a seminar that she presents. Is Krishna immoral? I think you see it on the screen. Yeah. Moment. We will see for the gopis. Here. Krishna steals the garments of the unmarried gopis. And in her seminar, she asked a question for the ladies. She says, how would you feel if you were bathing in a sacred river like the Yamuna in a reverential and prayerful mood, and some man came along and took your clothes and told you that he's not giving to give them back unless you come out naked and bow down? Even if it's someone you know, like a classmate or a colleague from work, what would you think? What would you think about a man doing such a thing? Would you be inclined to worship him? So when we look at Krishna's pastime from a mundane viewpoint, when we take Krishna and the gopis to be ordinary like us, then those pastime may seem immoral, even deplorable. Yet Krishna is not an ordinary person. Krishna is glorified for this pastime. Even every morning at Krishna Balaram Mandir in Vrindavan, devotees sing the beautiful song by Bhaktivedanta Thakur in Vrindavan. Gopi Jana Vastra Hari. That, yeah. Ravanataka Makana Taskara Gopi Jana Vastra Hari. Every morning in Vrindavan. Why do pure devotees glorify Krishna for stealing the clothes of the gopis? Let's look at the pastime through the lens of pure devotees like Prabhupada and the previous acharyas. So the unmarried gopis worshipping Katyayani to obtain Krishna as their husband. First of all, the gopis were not ordinary little girls. They were Nitya, Siddhas. So in fact their loving relationship with Krishna in the conjugal rasa were eternal, so it was already established. They had already a relationship with Krishna. They were Nitya Siddhis. That's the first point. But just like Krishna in his earthly pastimes acted like an ordinary human being, the gopis did too, and they followed the ways of an ordinary society. At that time it was customary for unmarried girls to worship the goddess Katyayani, or Durga, to get a good husband. They did this by performing the Katyayani Vrat during the month of Margasira, November-December, so Hemanta. For the whole month they would eat only boiled rice and dal with no salt, spices or vegetables, and that only once a day. And every morning before sunrise they would get up and call each other, and because it was dark they would all hold hands and walk to the bank of the Yamuna while singing the glories of Krishna. So they had kirtan. This may have been the original Harinam procession. When they got there, they would make an earthen deity of the goddess Katyayani on the river bank, worship her with arti and offerings of forest flowers and auspicious leaves, and they would pray, and that's the prayer that we have heard. Katyayani Mahamayi Mayohi Nadishvari Nanda Gopa Sutam Devi Patim Meku Te Namaha. O goddess Katyayani, O great potency of the Lord, O possessor of great mystic power, and mighty controller of all, please make the son of Nanda Maharaj my husband. I offer my obeisance to you. So at the side point, we may consider the gopis are Nitya Siddhas, but why are they worshipping the demigoddess? Vishwanath explains that they were actually worshipping the original spiritual form of Durga Devi, which is Yogamaya. Yogamaya is the personification of Krishna's eternal potency. And she is also known as Gokuleshvari, the goddess of Gokul, because she plays an important part in Krishna Vraja Lila. She covers the Vrajavasis and even Krishna, so that no one knows he is God. Yogamaya expands into the external potency, Mamaya, for covering the conditioned souls. In this verse, the gopis address Katyayani as Mahamaya, the great bewilderer, because they want her to bewilder their parents so that they will not know about their marriage to Krishna. They address her as Ma Yogini. You are a great mystic Yogini with all mystic powers and Adishvar. You are a mighty controller, so please use your powers to make our marriage with Krishna happen. So, and if they are worshipping goddess Durga, there is no fault. They were playing the part of ordinary girls following village customs, but they were doing it to attain Krishna. That was their only reason. So after a month of doing this, on the last day, to celebrate the successful completion of their vow, they took a ceremonial bath in the Yamuna for this event and also invited some of the VIP gopis like Srimati Radharani, Lalita Vishaka and the other Sakis to bless them. In India at that time, people did not have bathrooms in their homes, but they would go to the rivers to bathe. And they had areas of the rivers which were for men and other areas for women. People were very religious and pious and they respected these boundaries, so the girls were not worried about bathing naked in the river. So, Lord Krishna, the Supreme Personality of Godhead and Master of all mystic yoga, was aware of what the gopis were doing. He went there to award the gopis the perfection of their endeavor. So this day was different. Krishna is omniscient, and he is described in text 7 as Yogeshvara, the master of all mystic power. So he knew that they had been performing this month-long vow to have him as their husband. He heard every one of their sincere prayers, and he knew this was the day on which the vow would be completed. Krishna says in Bhagavad Gita 4:11 that Yeyatam Papachante, all those who surrender unto me, I reward them accordingly. In Srimad Bhagavatam 3:9-11, he also says, you are so merciful to your devotees that you manifest yourself in a particular eternal form of transcendence in which they always think of you. Srila Prabhupada writes in the purport, the Lord cannot become the order supplier of a pseudo-devotee, but is always prepared to respond to the desires of a pure devotee, unconditional, who is free from all tinges of material affection. So, Krishna's resolution was to bring some babies as witnesses. These boys were just like toddlers, 2-3 years old, who could not even talk properly. So they would not be able to tell anyone. And they were too young to understand the difference between male and female. It is described that these toddlers were the personification of Krishna's heart. That means Krishna's heart was an innocent baby, totally free from lust. These babies were like little cherubs with fat thighs and tinkling ankle bells, which shows that Krishna's intention was angelic, simply to bless the devotees to fulfill their heart's desires. Krishna stealthily scooped up all the clothes and quickly went up into a nearby tree. Seeing Krishna sitting like a monkey up into the tree with all the clothes, the baby started laughing, and this got the gopis' attention. When the gopis looked at Krishna, Krishna also laughed and said, if you want your clothes back, you'll have to come and get them. This was the start of a very sweet joking pastimes between the gopis and Krishna. This was the first time these young girls had ever been in a secluded place with Krishna. What to speak, to talk to him. And they were in ecstasy. Previously, they would only see him from a distance and cast sidelong glances at him, while their hearts were melting and longing to associate with him. Now Krishna had come here just to teach them. Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur describes their loving conversations in society at that time. A man would not joke with a woman like this, unless she was his wife or girlfriend. So this was very intimate, and the gopis were totally captivated and delighted. Externally, they were calling him a thief and a liar, but in their hearts, their love for him was increasing with each and every word. So text 12 said, Gopya Prema Paripluta. The gopis became fully immersed in ecstatic love. Pari means all the way around. There was not a single space in their heart or minds that was not filled with love for Krishna. This is what Krishna does. When he sees that we want to love him, he acts in such a way to fan the spark of that loving desire, to increase our love for him to the highest degree. That is what he was doing with the gopis. So reflect on your own experience. When you had a desire and Krishna fulfilled it in such a way that increased your love for him. I'm sure everyone has experiences like that. So another point that Sukadeva Goswami emphasized in this pastime is how Krishna is acting out of pure love. In text 13, the name Govinda is used. Govinda refers to Krishna. He who gives pleasure to the senses. Krishna is not there so much for his own pleasure, although he's enjoying the exchange, but he's there to give pleasure to the gopis. As they were arguing, Krishna was laughing, the toddlers were laughing, and the gopis were also laughing. The gopis even start joking among themselves. Hey, Krishna is calling you. You should go first. The whole scene was like a festival of love and laughter, the perfect wedding. So, not another point is in Krishna's favor is that it's not that the gopis didn't want to come out of the water. They did. They had just done this month-long austere vow, and now was the moment for his fruition. Vishvashkavati Thakur confirms in his explanation of Shuti Smita. The gopis smiled. Their smile expressed their desire for conjugal love. But this desire was Suchi, indicating that their desire for Krishna is not lustful, but is pure and innocent. The only thing that was stopping them was their shyness or embarrassment, and the thought of appearing naked before a boy. From the point of view of local custom, their shyness or embarrassment at the thought of appearing naked before a boy. From the point of view of local custom, this was a big surrender for the gopis. For a respectable girl to be seen naked by a boy was worse than death. Shyness was a girl's most valuable asset, for by shyness a girl could be saved from many awkward and dangerous situations, especially for unmarried girls. Shyness was a sign of virtue. It was an ornament which made them most beautiful. So out of love for me, these gopis have done something which is very difficult for any women to perform. But there remains something even more difficult. That is to give up their shyness for my sake. Socially speaking, this is worse than death for them. And I wonder if they can do it. Now let me test the power of their love. If they come out of the water and stand before me, I will give them their clothing along with my body, mind and soul. So, yes, this is the pastime, and we can undoubtedly learn many lessons from them. So you see this dam here, which is breaking. So the gopis, they gave up everything for Krishna. It was like a dam breaking. So finally, so here you have the dam that the gopis' love for Krishna is like a deep and powerful river, and their shyness is like a dam that is blocking it from expressing itself. So the question is the river strong enough to break the dam? So this is a comment on this verse. Our desire to touch Krishna's body has become even stronger and cannot be put to death even by drowning in the water. Therefore it seems our fate has been written on our foreheads, and we can do nothing to change it. So Vishwanath Chakravarti comments that the gopis are thinking, our desire to touch Krishna has become even stronger and cannot be put to death even by drowning the water. Therefore it seems our fate has been written on our foreheads, and we can do nothing to change it. This shows that it wasn't that Krishna forced them against their will to come out of the water. It was their own desire, and Krishna was just creating a situation for fulfilling it. It was true that they could do nothing to change it, because it is their eternal constitutional position to have conjugal relationship with Krishna. They are Nitya Siddhas. It was inevitable that it would manifest. Finally the gopi says, therefore yielding to these demands, we must put aside our embarrassment, send our obstinacy to hell, and rise up from the water. The gopis' love for Krishna is unstoppable. No amount of social etiquette can impede it. So finally the gopis came out one by one, and Krishna pushes them to the limit by making them fold their hands over their heads and bow down to him. Some people, especially feminists, may interpret this as Krishna's way of establishing his superiority over them, his male dominance, but actually his purpose was just the opposite. It was to glorify the gopis. Because of pastimes like this, the gopis are renowned as the best devotees of Krishna. Their standard of surrender and devotion is beyond compare. Of course, the gopis don't see it in this way. They are not thinking we are such great devotees, just how we will do anything for Krishna. They are simply relishing Krishna's loving reciprocation with them. They had all loved Krishna all along, and now they had solid proof that Krishna loves them too. Otherwise, why would he have gone out this way to play with us in this way? So they are feeling reassured, and Krishna confirmed their thoughts, frankly telling them that he was aware of their desire to serve them in conjugal rasa, and he promised them that he would very soon come to pass. So Krishna went out of his way to reciprocate with their desire, being attracted by their pure love for him. He offers them also back their clothes with his own heart. As a result of this pastime, the gopis became more attracted to Krishna than ever, and he also became more attracted to them. This is one of the 6 characteristics of devotional service. It attracts Krishna. So that's Shri Krishna Karsani, that's nectar of devotion, 6 characteristics of pure devotional service. So if Krishna's pastimes were immoral, how could they purify a person with such power that even a dog eater becomes eligible to perform Vedic sacrifice by hearing them? If the gopis were immoral, how could they see Krishna face to face? Actually, the gopis are the most spiritually advanced personalities in the material world and the spiritual worlds. Good. This was a part of a seminar so any further considerations after hearing all this?
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Maharaj, that discussion was going on. I was wondering that in Gopi Geet, they glorify the Lord like anything. But here the conversations are like very harsh. And the conversation is in between the lovers and loved one. But it won't look like they are like, they love each other. What Rupa Goswami, Acharyas, what he has written, that's not like, in a positive way.
Well, it depends on our observation, how we see it. But in fact, these conversations are full of laughter and joking, and are jokingly between the gopis and Krishna. But the thing is that externally they speak like this, but internally they are feeling different. And of course, this internal feeling is revealed by our acharyas, by their commentaries. And without that connection, as an external observer, our perception is, it's harsh, and they are suffering in the water and so on. But they are not really suffering. They are not identifying with the body. And when you identify with the body, then you have suffering. Their suffering is more a spiritual emotion that, and that will come up again when in later chapter, I think chapter 47, when Uddhav visits Vrindavan. Then and because Krishna has sent them to console the gopis and Nanda Maharaj and Mother Yasoda, and he sees Mother Yasoda is crying, and Nanda Maharaj has his head bowed down, and then then he speaks a verse in the Bhagavatam, and he says, "I'm very happy to see you like this." That's a little strange, because he knows they are not suffering. Their so-called suffering is a higher spiritual ecstatic emotion. It's pleasure. But we don't have that experience in this world. So the gopis are not really suffering. That they are experiencing pleasure. That's, yeah, suffering becomes an ecstatic spiritual emotion. Hare Krishna.
Thank you.
Anything else? You want more comments? Good. If there are no more comments, then
Can I ask a question, Maharaj?
yeah, I can try to answer. Hare Krishna.
I heard that after this, like when Brahmaji took away all the cows and cowherd boys,
Yeah.
and Krishna expanded himself, then he married all the gopis who were praying for him to be their husband, but there is some confusion of timeline. So I just wanted to know whether it's like some fact kind of thing, or the gopas were married to different gopis, but then ultimately they were marrying Krishna in that during that 1 year time.
It looks like the first batch of gopis who married Krishna, and then the other came older, and the marriageable age. That's my understanding. That's the, yeah. They were younger. That's what I understood. Does that help?
Yes, Maharaj, thank you.
Good. Thank you. I'm
Maharaj,
yes, Srinivas Gopal.
Maharaj, regarding this Mataji, what she asked, that the gopis, they don't know about that they married to Krishna. They were
Yes,
not stopped. That they got some satisfaction because it is Krishna came in the form of gopas. So that's all. But later on, they might have felt the dissatisfaction. Means I didn't get Krishna as my husband.
Well, but they were married gopis. That they were married. That
in Brahma Vimohan Leela, all the gopas have married to gopis, right?
Yes,
that
right. Those who were at marriageable age, they were but then later they married Krishna, but Krishna had a form of a certain gopa, and then later, after 1 year, the gopas who were stolen came back. They were surprised that they were married. Anyway, how that works, I don't know, but But then these gopis did not feel so attracted to their husbands anymore. And we see their mothers-in-laws, they kept them inside to protect them against Krishna. Some of these mother-in-laws went to Mother Mangal complain. They said, these are our daughters-in-law, they have really no attraction for their husband. No interest in their husband. It is something you can do, they asked Mother Mangal. And the Mother Mangal says, yes, you can, and that's interesting what the advice is, because he knows these gopis are kept into the house. They cannot, and they want to go to the forest to see Krishna during the day, but they cannot leave. So he tells their mothers, yes, in the Vedas there is a sacrifice that will help with that. Your daughters-in-law should worship the sun god. And you should them send out into the forest to collect all the herbs and flowers for worship of the sun god, and you let them worshipping the sun god in the forest. And that will help, Mother Mangala said. And all the mothers-in-law, they were happy, and they sent out their daughters in the forest, and they were also happy because they could see Krishna. So it seems that afterwards they did not feel attraction for their husbands, so-called husbands. Anyway, these are very high topics here, not that I have an insight in all these things, but we heard something. Good. Something else?
So the Yoga Maya was influencing on them.
Yoga Maya. Yeah.
The boys who are not quarreling with the gopis.
Who was? Can you repeat that, Srinivas?
The Yoga Maya was influencing that gopas, that they were not fighting with the gopis because of not showing that much interest on the husbands.
Oh yeah. That's interesting. That's interesting observation.
Thank you, Maharaj.
Thank you very much. For the moment, I'm at the Czech farm, and tomorrow I'll be still here. On Wednesday, I'm moving to Prague. It seems the internet connection is quite good here, because I'm always afraid of that. But I look forward to discuss this pastime further and to finish the chapter with you tomorrow. Thank you very much. Hare Krishna. See you tomorrow. Jai Prabhupada.
Thank you, Maharaj. His Holiness Bhakti Prabhu Swami Maharaj ki jai.
Srila Prabhupada ki jai.
Yeah.